Welcome to the EPG Pathshala. Myself, Dr. Swati Dhruv from the Department of Foods and Nutrition, the Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Today we would be discussing on the E module on growth and development in children. So first of all, let us have a look at the definition of what we mean by growth and development. So as we all are aware that the progressive increase in the overall body size of a child or body parts of a child is termed as growth. The development is continuous. We all are aware that the development is continuous acquisition of various abilities and skills such as reading, speaking, writing, learning, interacting with people and communicating. So early childhood, when we see, it is nothing but the growth and development in the early childhood. That is a period of rapid physical, social, intellectual and emotional growth. The physical growth rate is slow and steady, as we all know, in the preschool years in comparison to infancy and adolescence. And that is the reason this is often referred to as the latent period of growth. However, it is important phase of growth and development. Also over here, the motor skills, they get finely tuned during the period of early childhood. This stage is primarily known for skill development, wherein the development of the toddlers gradually explore the environment around and interact with others effectively. Let us have a look at the physiological development. The physical growth denotes the net increase in the mass or the size of the tissues. The increase in the height in these years is about 12 to 15 centimeters during the second year, and on an average of 2 to 3 kilograms of weight gain takes place. Between 2 to 5 years of age, the average weight gain in height as well as the weight annually is 7 to 10 centimeters and 1.5 to 2 kgs respectively. However, there is a wide variance in the physical development of children. Preschoolers, as we all know, they experience periods of slow growth followed by growth spurts. The child also experiences changes in appearance from an infant with head length of almost 1/4 of the total body length to a more balanced, adult-like appearing toddler. Increase in appetite and food intake results in little weight gain during slow growth period. These stores get utilized to provide energy later when required during the growth spurt. Now let us have a look at the body composition. Now changes occur in the proportion of water, muscle tissues, fat deposits and skeletal structure as growth proceeds. A gradual decrease is observed in body water and fat is observed during the early childhood, and there is also mineralization of the bones. Physical activity, straightening of the legs and muscles in the back, abdomen, buttocks and legs strengthen to support the erect structure of the child. The protein deposition continues along with tissue growth in the teeth, body fat, skin, nervous system and other connective tissues as the child continues to grow. Coming to the physical and motor development, with respect to the physical and motor development, the preschoolers, they develop a sense of individuality, gain competence in various activities and strive for independence from the second year. Their food behavior shows their distinct personality. Easy to eat foods of appropriate texture and consistency should be given to them. Active participation in playful activities should be encouraged in order to develop their gross motor coordination. They can move up the stairs one at a time, draw simple strokes with the pencil and kick the ball by the age of 2 years. An increase in the sense of independence, initiative, imagination and curiosity is observed as the age proceeds. By the age of 5, they can tie their own shoelaces, they can as well dress and undress by themselves, they can grab the control over their pencils, that is the pincer strength, the scissors, crayons and write and pour milk in a glass. During this period, Finger foods which the child can easily grab and while doing various activities like playing, drawing, etc. should be given to them. With respect to the language development, the ability to use language develops rapidly during the preschool age. By the end of 2 years, the child can speak at least 50 words, which gradually increases to 1000 words as the child progresses to 5 years of age. They are able to increase their vocabulary and string words to form short sentences. They are also able to carry on conversation and tell small stories. A 2-year-old can communicate using short words like yes, no, what they want, do not want, etc. While by 3 years of age, they start expressing their wants and needs in the form of small sentences which they learn from their peer group and media as well. By the age of 5 years, they are able to speak 5 to 7 word sentences and understand few language and grammar skills. Language plays a powerful role for enhancing the cognitive development in children. Communication and problem solving becomes much easier then. Also, during the preschool years, the cognitive development also takes place. Now, cognitive development with regards to thinking and reasoning ability improves amongst the preschoolers. According to the Piaget's theory of cognitive development, he explains that this is the phase, that is the preschoolers, is the phase as pre-occupational stage of cognitive development, wherein the child's intelligence is demonstrated through the use of symbols and language. They start developing memory and a sense of imagination, but their thinking is in a non-logical, non-reversible manner. The egocentric thinking predominates during this stage. They start learning their letters, numbers and colors. A sense of curiosity in early situation is developed and they start taking up new challenges. Initially, they become more conscious towards their choices. Complaints and refusal to eat certain foods is very commonly seen during the initial phase of early childhood. This is known as we all are aware, picky eating. But gradually, with time, they expand their choices in food. Early development is characterized by increasing ability to memorize, focus attention, the ability to connect ideas with each other in a more logical way, and also the ability to devise strategies for remembering. Now, let us have a look at the emotional and social development aspects during the preschool age. Now, personality development and socialization are two sides of a coin among the preschoolers. Social development is closely linked to achievements in cognitive and linguistic skills. Socio-emotional development is of key importance during the initial phase of early childhood. Development of attachment forms a critical base for the future. The child's experiences with their caregivers plays an important role in shaping the personality of the child and also determines individual differences in functioning during their later life. The future relationships in life and its value are determined by the quality of emotional attachment or lack of attachment formed during this early phase of childhood. Later growth in socio-emotional skills takes place between 3 to 6 years of age. Dealing with one's own feelings, formation of peer groups, identification of gender differences and a sense of right and wrong is gradually developed among the children. Most of the preschoolers, they share food with their friends and caregivers. However, at times, the perspective of other individuals is difficult to accept by the preschooler, and that often leads to situations where it imposes a great impact on the child's thinking. For instance, the child might be extremely possessive for his or her favorite toy, but would expect others to share their toys with him or her without any hesitation. This creates a mentality where the child decides upon fairness relative to his or her own interests. The pace of growth and the development differs from individual to individual. A child might be ahead in one field while little lacking in another. By and large, all children strive for independence and gain competence in various activities during the period of early childhood. So, let us have a look at the implications for pre-primary education, that is understanding the formation of foundation skills of various areas of development, which is of critical importance during early childhood. Developmental delays during the early phase can be easily detected owing to the increased awareness and technological advancements. Early intervention and treatments can definitely help reduce the requirement for placing the child in special education schools. For instance, early detection of vision deficits can be treated and corrected before serious vision impairments occur. Detection of developmental delays in premature children and its treatment using various therapies can help those children perform at an equivalent level as that of a typically growing child before they enter school. Also, pressure to prepare the child with prerequisite skills before their admission in school has increased emphasis on early learning. Now, let us move on to middle childhood. Earlier, middle childhood was not considered as an important stage contributing towards human development. Sigmund Freud explained this phase of life as the fourth stage of psychosexual development and labeled it as latency stage. During this stage, all the sexual and pleasure-seeking urges are repressed and the child is driven more towards social development and interaction with family and peer group. Freud believed that this period does not significantly contribute towards personality development. However, later theories have proven middle childhood as an important phase contributing towards the cognitive, social, emotional, psychological and physiological development. This phase is primarily an integration of an individual, interpersonal and societal development. The rate of growth and development is slow and irregular with occasional growth spurts as compared to early childhood and adolescence. However, motor and neuromuscular skills, they develop rapidly during this phase. Both strength and coordination gradually improve in various tasks that are taken up. Heredity and environmental factors, they also affect the growth and development of the child, and the body changes that occur are gradual. Boys, for example, are taller and heavier at each stage than girls initially, but later at around 11 to 12 years, girls become taller and heavier as compared to boys. Girls have a higher deposition of body fat, but have less percentage of muscle tissues as compared to boys of the same age. So, let us have a look at the physical development. The growth spurts at different rates among the school age children influences their height and weight. The nutritional status of the child ascertains their rate of growth and development. The average gain in weight is about 1.5 to 3 kgs per year, while that in height is 2 to 3 inches per year. Height is a factor, as we all know, which is also influenced by heredity. Weight reflects short-term nutritional status, while height reflects long-term nutritional status. Ill health, that is, will have an immediate effect on the weight of the child, but if the disease is chronic, it would affect the height as well. The developmental changes occur at a faster pace after the onset of puberty. Over the period, it is observed that the age of onset of puberty is decreasing with time among children. However, On an average, it begins earlier for girls at an average age of 11 years and 13 years for boys. It is defined as a stage of sexual maturation wherein hormonal changes are followed by observable changes in the physical appearance as well as behavior. Pubertal period overlaps between later middle childhood and early adolescence. Let us have a look at the body composition. The body composition during the middle childhood remains relatively constant. However, as the body size increases, children have a slimmer appearance as compared to the preschool years. The percentage of body fat increases gradually during school age in order to prepare the children for growth spurt that occurs during the adolescence period. Initially, the growth rate of boys and girls is the same, but later on, that is between 11 to 12 years, body fat increases occurs earlier in girls than in case of boys. Girls are usually taller and heavier as compared to boys. During middle childhood, boys have more lean body mass while girls accumulate more fat. These differences in body composition, they become more significant during adolescence. Now coming to the cognitive development. Now cognitive development during middle childhood is a slow and steady interface between the enhancement of skills developed in early childhood and preparation of cognitive development in the upcoming adolescent period. Learning and reasoning abilities are developed in a comparatively deeper manner than the previous phases. However, concrete and effective learning is still remaining. They develop a sense of enthusiasm towards learning and are motivated with achievements in work. They develop a healthy environment of competence and self-esteem. Looking at the social and psychological development during the middle adulthood. So what we see during the middle adulthood is that the peer group influences the child more than their parents. Their ability to solve problems and participate in group activities also starts developing. This period is characterized by emotional stress, competitive behavior, academic pressure and dreaming, which brings about a drastic change in the previous learning and personality pattern. They try to match up to the standards set by their own peer group, right from the style of dressing to behavior and thinking process. Children develop gross and fine motor skills, leading to more concrete and logical reasoning. The interpersonal and social communication skills gained during this period serves as a building block for the future adult relationships. Now let us have a look at the implications for primary education. Enjoyments in learning and academic pressure are two sides of a coin in middle childhood. On one hand, during the early stage, child realizes time and peer group and develops interest in various co-curricular activities like sports, quiz, etc. or hobbies like music and art along with academics. While on the other side, after 8 to 9 years of age, child experiences the urge to develop more complex skills in order to sustain the academic pressure among the classmates and to successfully meet the upcoming challenges. The chances of lacking behind in further grades increases if attention is not paid during this shift. Apart from this, changes in the social scenario, unhealthy eating habits, peer influence, drug use and depression also has an impact on the children with more ease during these phases. Hence, care needs to be taken to educate these children with social and life skills so as to help them grow into good individuals and future citizens of our country. Hence, let us have a look at the importance of assessing growth and development. Now, closely monitoring the health and nutritional status of the child is of prime importance because it lays the foundation for the adult years. Now, this can be achieved only by assessing the growth and development of the child on a regular basis, which we usually call it as nutritional status assessment. Now, this is the age group where it is observed that in children below 5, the chances for malnutrition or undernutrition is found to be on the higher side. Now, the cause of concern for various diseases and disorders during this age needs to be immediately sought. Hence, the assessment of growth becomes an essential part of physical examination. So, let us have a look at the factors which have an influence on the growth and development. Now, the genetic and environmental factors, they play a very important role in determining the growth and development of a child. The constant interaction of the biologically determined traits and characteristics and the environmental factors that determine the integrated nature of growth and development. Heredity and genetic disorders serve as an important factor in determining the rate and limitations of growth. A child genetically determined to be tall grows slightly taller rapidly than a child genetically determined to be short. Similarly, a child with high intelligence quotient parents develops their intellect more rapidly than a child with comparatively low IQ parents. Apart from that, racial groups like Asians, Africans, Americans, etc. and gender differences also influences the same. Along with this, environmental and other factors like prenatal and postnatal nutrition, child's nutrition, parents' behavior, socio-cultural background, the climate, malnutrition, infections, emotional factors, etc. also influences the growth and development. Now, minimizing unfavorable environmental factors helps to achieve optimum growth and development of the child. Now, let us have a look at what we mean by catch-up growth. Now, illness or undernutrition, as we mentioned, slows down or ceases the growth rate of the child. While recovering from such a condition, they experience a greater rate of recovery than normal. This recovery is known as the catch-up growth, wherein the child strives to attain growth pattern equivalent to that of a typically normally growing child. The intensity of the cause of growth deprivation is directly proportional to the degree of growth suppression. For instance, the increased severity of diseases causes greatest impact in growth reduction. However, these children experience a faster catch-up growth as compared to those children suffering from mild illnesses or nutritional deprivation. Once the child catch-up growth reaches an appropriate growth, the growth rate then follows a linear growth. Adequate nutrition should be provided for assessing adequate catch-up growth. So, let us now find out how we can measure growth, that is assessing the growth. Periodic growth assessment is of utmost importance to ensure normal growth and development of the child. The various measurements to that are used to measure the growth are listed over here. For example, the anthropometric measurements are weight, weight for length or weight for height, head circumference, chest circumference, mid upper arm circumference, body mass index, the eruption of teeth, etc. Now, the WHO, the World Health Organization, has developed growth reference standards for screening as well as monitoring the nutritional status of children in 0 to 5 years and 5 to 19 years of age group for both boys as well as girls, which includes body mass index for age, that is for 5 to 19 years, and length for age for 0 to 2 years of age, height for age for 2 to 5 years and 5 to 19 years of age. The length for height is given for 0 to 2 years, weight for height for 2 to 5-year-old child, and weight for age for 0 to 5 years and 5 to 10 years respectively. Now, low BMI for age indicates thinness, as we all know, and high BMI for age indicates overweight and obesity. Similarly, low height for age, if a child is found to have low height for that particular age, it indicates stunting in school age children. And on the other side, low weight for age indicates underweight, and weight for height indicates wasting. So, it is very important for us to understand and learn about these terminologies. Now, for regular growth monitoring of the child, a growth curve is plotted on the growth chart. Now, each time a child is weighed, the weight is recorded by marking a point on that particular chart. These points are joined by a line, and this line is called what we usually refer to as the growth curve. If a child is growing and there is regular weight gain, the line will move in an upward direction. Thus, growth becomes visible. When growth falters, on the other hand, that is when the weight does not increase as expected, then the line on the growth chart does not go upward, but it stays flat. The line on the growth chart may even go in a downward direction when a child loses weight. Thus, monitoring the growth of a child every month enables to see the period of no growth or weight loss even before a child starts appearing thin. This wants to take early action in order to ensure that the child grows normally. Taking action on the first sign of growth faltering can easily restore the health and proper growth. On each growth chart, there are 3 printed curves. These are called the reference lines or the z-scores. Lines are used to compare and interpret the growth pattern of the child and also to assess his or her nutritional status. Each growth chart, as you can see, has 2 axes. The horizontal line at the bottom of the chart is the x-axis. This is for recording the age of the child for first 5 years, and this is called the month axis. The vertical line at the far left of the chart is the y-axis. This is for recording the weight of the child from birth onwards and is called the weight axis. Another anthropometric indicator that can be used other than what we said the weight for age is the mid upper arm circumference. That is what is commonly known as MUAC. So, the mid upper arm circumference, as we all know, is measured halfway between the acromion process of the scapula and the olecranon process of the ulna. And the cutoff for the MUAC that has been given is less than, if the child is severely malnourished, then the cutoff is less than 11.5 centimeters. In case of moderate malnutrition, it is between 11.5 to 12.5 centimeters, and in case of a normal child, it is more than 12.5 centimeters respectively. The other indicator that is used is the chest to head circumference ratio. Now, normal growth is indicated also by the head circumference, which is greater than the chest circumference by up to 2 centimeters at the time of birth. At about when the child becomes 6 to 9 months, the head circumference should become equal to the chest circumference. Thereafter, after 9 months, the chest circumference grows more rapidly in comparison to the head circumference. Now, if in case of the child is protein energy malnourished, then the head circumference is greater than the chest circumference. Hence, we just had a look at the different indicators that are used for assessing the growth of a child. That these are the ones which are commonly used in the field setting as well, which help us to identify if the child is undernourished, and if so, then what are the steps that can be taken at an earlier stage in order to prevent the child from going into further degrees of undernutrition, that is, from preventing a child from becoming severely undernourished. Thus, as you all have seen, we have discussed in this chapter on growth and development in children various aspects, like for example, in early and middle childhood, the physiological development, psychological development, cognitive development, etc. Also, ways in which, or the simple ways in which we can use for assessing their growth. Thank you.